we do a lot of Mizzou, and last year I said no to a lot of Mizzou because it was $300. They've upped the rate, so it's like a real truck right now. So, love that. I had a couple of 360 games last year. I know I'm on the Bears 360. Are you? Yeah, solid. I've never impressed Dawn before. Since then, it's like he'll ask me to like plug into certain things, and I'll write it. Something like that. I'm like, like he likes me, and I don't want this to go to get mad. What's that here? Go back to stay. I can see how he scary with programs. There are some people that he doesn't. I got here like 2 hours ago. Why am I so upset about this? Nope.
Welcome to the second and final game of the night from Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City. It's time for the first ever Sunflower Showdown in TBT history. It's the Kansas State Alumni, Purple Rain, taking on the Kansas Alumni, JHX Hoops. I'm Paul Fritchner, alongside Mike Latulip. And Mike, we are set for a very fun one tonight and some significant roster changes to set the table for the matchup. Kansas State Alumni team, Purple Rain, they will be without Jacob Pullen tonight. He will be out due to a knee injury. And on the other side for JHX Hoops, they pick up a significant addition in David McCormick, who didn't play in the opener the other day. He is active and available for this rivalry game tonight from Kansas City.
Yeah, an emotional leader for this team, but also a guy that in the Elam Ending, you just feel like you can count on him. Who's going to step up for Purple Rain today? Is it going to be Jada? Is it going to be DeJuan Gordon, who just was active today as well? And then the flip side, look, we got a steel cage match on our hands today. There's history between these two programs, obviously, collegiately. It's a tremendous rivalry, and I think you see sparks fly today in this 2-3 matchup. But who keeps the main thing, which is punching your ticket to the regional final?
Purple Rain with a win the other day against the Shine, 85-84, in what I would say has been the most electric game of this Kansas City regional so far. A winner by Sean Williams in that game to send Purple Rain on to this meeting on Monday night against JHX Hoops. They beat off the hook 91 78 in game one. And we'll see some really talented teams here tonight on both sides that showcase the alumni, the history of these two storied programs. And Kansas on their side introducing their starting lineups right now. We'll go through them. First for Jayhawks Hoops, LeGerald Bick, Zeke Mayo, Cliff Alexander, Billy Preston, and Jamari Traylor. On the other side for Purple Rain, it's DeJuan Gordon, Dominique Sutton, Cartier Jada, Austin Trice, and Cam Martin. Austin Trice with a double-double the other night. Billy Preston had a spectacular night scoring the basketball, 19 points for him. Did have 6 turnovers, and that's something that you'll have to look at to limit if you're the Jayhawks. But those are your starting 5 for each team.
Yeah, and I was really curious to see with the addition of David McCormick, were they just going to insert him in the starting lineup, or does Sharon Collins say, hey, we won a game, we got a win at our belt, let's not change things and move around our rotations. So you got David McCormick coming off the bench for this Jayhawks Hoops team, which is pretty incredible. And then I wondered if on the other side for Purple Rain, how do they manage this game from a rotation standpoint? They really had a ton of success in their previous game against the Shine going small, putting Austin Trice at the 5. But can you do that against this Jayhawks Hoops team who scored 50 points in the paint in their previous game and really owned the paint and got to the free throw line and owned the glass? So a lot of tough decisions for Clint Stewart, the Purple Rain head coach.
The winner of this game tonight will be playing Heartfire, the Kansas City Regional's top seed, who dispatched the Sheffield Sharks 89-70 in a game that Heartfire really dominated from start to finish. Top seed in the region and a team that won it 2 years ago. They await the winner of the TBT Sunflower Showdown here tonight. Should be a fun one, and we are excited to bring it to you. For the Jump Circle, it's Billy Preston for the Jayhawks Hoops. Jumping it up against Austin Trice. Preston wins it. We're underway. Jayhawks Hoops in the white. And the purple and black, of course, Purple Rain. Gerald Vick on the outside. That ball knocked out of bounds. It'll stay with the Jayhawks, but you can see that early defensive pressure from Purple Rain.
Right away, Dominique Sutton, we saw him kind of flip that game against the Shine in the second quarter with his effort and his intensity. Right there, hedging on the ball screen, get a hand on the ball. He's making his presence felt early.
Billy Preston, and with all that scoring really at will the other night, the Jayhawks, an early turnover here, and it's Purple Rain's first opportunity with the basketball. Straightaway 3 off the right side of the rim. Tracking it down is Zeke Mayo.
And those turnover issues for Jayhawks Hoops, 24 of them last game as Mayo almost breaks his defender off. 24 last game, and more importantly, 15 live ball turnovers. Have to limit those today if you want to advance to a regional final.
DeJuan Gordon chased out the rebound, but goes out of bounds. Gordon dropping it underneath. There's Trice. No, but the follow, yes. And Purple Rain lifts the lid on this scoring tonight.
Both teams right away utilizing horns action, putting 2 guys at the elbows and 2 guys at the corner with cross screens for the big man. They try to get Trice going downhill. Martin just swims around Cliff Alexander. Has not much of a size advantage there, but figures out a way to get around and finish.
And Cam Martin, certainly one that the thousands watching are keeping their eye on tonight, a former Kansas player wearing the Purple Rain jersey tonight.
I'm not sure we've seen that in this tournament. We've seen guys play for other alumni teams, but not for a rival.
Certainly not.
And you see times too in this tournament where beef is kind of manufactured. Guys just want to manufacture the beef. It's on a platter there for for Jayhawks Hoops.
Gordon flipping it up. Cam Martin there for the board. He puts it up and in, and he has Purple Rain's first 4 points.
I mean, this is the activity from Cam Martin here earlier. You can see there is a chip on his shoulder playing in this game, and he clearly has something to prove.
There's LeGerald Vick, 6 points the other night. Couple of threes for Vick. Preston. And when Preston really wanted to score on Saturday, he pretty much could score at will. The turnovers limited him. The step back three is short. Kansas settling a bit here to start the game.
Well, Purple Rain has been pretty outstanding defensively in gaps. They've rotated well. They've covered for each other. They're communicating. And that's not really what we saw to start the game for Purple Rain. So this is the beauty of this tournament. You get a game under your belt. You get a win under your belt. And then it just feels more natural that second time you come out on the floor with new teammates.
DeJuan Gordon handing off. Jada, kick into the corner. How about this? Martin.
Well, he hasn't been shy early. That's now 4 field goal attempts in the first 3 minutes for Cam Martin.
Oh, what a pass underneath, but no finish from David McCormick as we get our first look at the Jayhawks big man.
That's a guy rim running down the middle of the lane. You can't go unaccounted for.
Preston charging to the rim. A lot of contact, no call. Marcus Bell. He had 15 points in the TBT opener on 6 of 7 shooting. It's just 17 minutes off the bench.
Yeah, he did. It was quick work for Marcus Bell, and he did it from the outside. He did it around the rim. Just really understands who he is as a player.
Martin thought about that one. It would have been a long 2. Instead, spins around. Too strong.
Cam Martin's on pace for about 50 field goal attempts this point.
About
finish.
Zeke Mayo. He had 11 the other night. Just 4 of 12 from the field, so not overly efficient, but a lot of that scoring came late. 3 ball, short. Mayo tips it up the floor. Kind of a pseudo assist up ahead. Mayo underneath, this time to Bell, and a foul will send Bell to the free throw line.
And that's really good to see from Mayo. I thought it took him a second, and granted, he was coming straight from Summer League, but in round 1, it took him a second to find his footing. And he's really tasked with being the facilitator for this team. You look at this past year at Kansas, and you got a guy like DeJuan Harris to lean on in that department, and it's all on Mayo in this game. And I thought, he was 4 turnovers in that first round game. He still plays with really good pace, but being a little bit more economical with your decision making, and we've seen some really good reads from him early on.
Marcus Bell stepping into the line. He played for the LA Cheaters last year. He played at 3 JUCOs before finishing his career at Idaho and Stanislaus State. Moved around in his collegiate days. Splits the pair at the line. Jayhawks hoops with their first lead of the night at 5-4 after Cam Martin's opening couple of buckets for Purple Rain.
Well, Sean Williams checking into the game. I was wondering how long it was going to take them to get him in there. He was the hero on Saturday. And he turns it over.
Sean Williams was spectacular in that opener. Preston. A lot of size from Billy Preston, 6'9". A foul on the entry pass into Marcus Bell. That'll go against Sean Williams.
And I like that from Preston. He looks at Mayo and he's demanding the ball, not for himself, but to get Marcus Bell on an easy post feed with Sean Williams on his back. And those post feeds are a little bit easier when you're 6'10" like Billy Preston is.
Here's David McCormick. Just entered the game trying to feed Mayo on that screen off the inbound. Couldn't get it to him because of a foul on the perimeter.
And the initial screen was for Preston on a curl to the rim, and that's something that in the second half, Preston has the ability to create on ball, but I love Sharon Collins in that second half of that off-the-hook game, making him a roller and pick and roll, getting him on cross screens on the baseline. He's got such an advantage at 6'10". He could really live in the paint.
Kevin Young into the game for the Jayhawks hoops, and then a foul on the outside on Jada. So 2 fouls in 4 seconds on Williams. Now Jada picks up a foul.
And those fouls have mounted quickly. The next foul is free throws for Jayhawks hoops.
Flip over the top, and that goes out of bounds. Nick Timberlake couldn't connect on the pass there. And that brings us to our first timeout of the game. Again, Paul Fritchner alongside Mike LaTulip, bringing you this historic rivalry in college basketball. Jayhawks and the Wildcats now here in TBT in the Sunflower Showdown for the first time in this tournament. These teams on the college scene have split the last 3 years of showdowns. KU won both in 2022, but there have been certainly some familiar faces on these sides that have made their way out to Municipal Auditorium to take this in. Players from both teams, coaches supposedly in attendance.
Yeah, we had heard that Bill Self's in attendance. Jacques Vaughn, who's recently added to the Kansas staff. Christian Braun.
Darren
Chayabaji also in the stands.
Darren Peterson, Justin Cross, Flory Badunga, Jaden Dawson, Melvin Council Jr., Corbin Allen, they were all at the first game. These teams played the other night, last week, on Thursday, and Jayhawks hoops beat Purple Rain 78-72 in the Wheat State Summer Showdown. That was a pre-TBT scrimmage. The teams got together to open up the week, and it was a 6-point win for the Kansas Alumni. Good game, tightly contested. Zeke Mayo ended up hitting the game-winning free throw in that game. Zeke Mayo, interesting story on him to even be here. Mayo played 11 minutes for the Wizards Summer League team in Vegas on Wednesday night, and he took the first flight out of Vegas at 6 a.m. on Thursday to join Jayhawks hoops, and he ultimately hit the game-winning free throw. That is, as you said on Saturday, Mike, a pure hooper, and wants to get here and play with his squad.
If you're a pure hooper, you come and play in this tournament. You're not worried about your beach vacations and hanging out with your girlfriend. It's all ball. And that's what's cool about this tournament. Not only is it playing basketball, but think about all the guys that play overseas who don't get to have their family in attendance for a lot of their games. This is a chance for them to do that. And if you've been playing overseas for a long time,
Dominique Sutton hits a three.
Speaking of playing overseas for a long time.
Yeah.
And Sutton just very much like he did in the last game, knocking down shots from the outside, but you just see his communication defensively. That's where it all starts with Sutton.
McCormick, underhand toss into the lane, got knocked out of bounds. It'll stay on this end of the floor. Yeah, Dominique Sutton, he started on Saturday. He played 36 minutes. He had a double-double, 15 points, 10 boards. He was 6 for 8 from the floor. His only 2 misses were from 3. You can already tell these are 4 9-minute quarters, and it is tightly contested to open this up. A lot of fun here on Monday night in Kansas City.
Yeah, it hasn't been the prettiest basketball. That's for sure. But I think when I said at the top that this is going to be a steel cage match, this is kind of what I envisioned, a bit of a slugfest. But I think once both teams settle in, you'll see a little bit more firepower offensively. And it is hard, too. I mean, McCormick gets inserted in the lineup, and Juan Gordon gets inserted in the lineup. So as the tournament goes on, you're having to adjust on the fly with who you have on the floor and rotations. And just when you feel like you've found a rhythm, that's not to say those players disrupt that. That's just basketball when you're having to integrate other pieces.
Shot clock violation there on the Jayhawks.
And that's 3 turnovers already for Jayhawks hoops. on pace to be below their 24 the other night, but still not ideal.
Nice little look to Austin Trice, but he can't finish.
Yeah, Austin Trice didn't have to deal with that against the Shine going up against a guy like David McCormick.
Trice had 20 and 10 against the Shine. Lefty laying, my goodness, Jacob Hanna. He only had 6 points on Saturday, but right there kind of flashing why he was such a standout player at the D2 level this past season.
Defensive player of the year in his conference, just a phenomenal athlete.
And then a rejection by Kevin Young, but ended up getting too much contact there and sends Purple Rain to the line. Emmanuel Egbuda.
Yeah, I'll say this about Egbuda. Their first round game against the Shine, he played a loud 12 minutes. 12 minutes played, he got 6 shots up and had 7 rebounds.
Only scored 3 points, but 7 boards. Athletic player.
Felt like every minute he was in there, he was doing something.
Jacob Hanna trying to get his way through. Timberlake saves it right to McCormick, who throws it down. Welcome to Jayhawks hoop. David McCormick on the board.
That's the ultimate. Look what I found. Timberlake tightrope in the baseline, and McCormick just makes himself available for the flush.
Look out, fake the 3. Defensive pressure. Mid-range pull-up, too strong, and then a foul, I believe, on McCormick as Price skied in for the board.
And if Jayhawks hoops can just be solid, this is arguably one of their better defensive groups. I mean, Hannah's a depoy, and his D2, Amayo can guard. That's why he's on the team. McCormick is a great anchor.
That actually went on Nick Timberlake. That's Timberlake's second foul. 6 fouls for disqualification here in TBT. It's 4 9-minute quarters and then about a 12-minute halftime.
Good defense from Mayo.
Zeke Mayo clapping his hands. And then a foul defensively there off the screen.
Not Mayo?
That was on Zeke Mayo. That's his first foul.
Jeez, I don't know. Hey, I felt like he was just getting into the ball.
Jack Pagankoff into the game for Purple Rain. Look underneath. That tipped out of bounds. It'll stay with Purple Rain. 10 on the timer. And under 90 seconds to play in the first quarter. A packed house here at Municipal. Fun crowd for these two teams. Trice. 8 on the timer. Pagankoff will try a 3. Too much for an offensive board, and he lost control into the hands of McCormick. Mayo up ahead. No numbers, but he loses his footing. Pagankoff now numbers the other way. A 3. No. Wild sequence here. McCormick. Even a ball on a string. And he lost it.
Someone's got to restore order right now.
Here's Trice. And McCormick brings it down, throws it up ahead, drops it off, and we'll be shooting free throws. Everybody catch your breath as Kevin Young goes to the line.
I think we needed to stop in the action there. Everybody just to collect themselves here for a second. Goodness gracious. That was just...
Kevin Young to the line, 7 points the other day against Off the Hook in the opener.
Well, you know what's interesting is I look at Zeke Mayo as probably more of like a combo guard that leans more to like an off-ball guard. And there's just not really like a pure point guard out there for either team right now. And I think that was pretty emblematic of what we saw right there. Just a lot of chaos and no setting of the table.
Jayhawks hoops with a 3-point lead. Their largest so far of the quarter. Scoring has been at a premium, I'll say that. Very physical game. Here's Pagankoff.
Pagankoff's going to keep firing. 0 for 3 in the last game. Hasn't quite found his outside stroke, but good shooters keep putting him up.
And a foul out by midcourt.
That's a really rough foul. This should be free throws.
Under 10 seconds to play.
Am I wrong?
At the 5th foul. Believe that should have been free throws for Jayhawks hoops, but instead they'll kick into the corner. 3 for Young. They didn't get it. So at the end of 1, it's Jayhawks hoops 11, Purple Rain 8.
That offensive quarter won't go in the Louvre. That's for sure. But look, I think just even to start off the game, another 5 turnovers for Jayhawks hoops, 24 in the previous game, winning the rebounding battle like we saw them do last game. And then for Purple Rain, that's about as bad of an offensive quarter as you could have. 16% from the field, 3 for 18, 1 for 7 from 3. You only got to the line twice, and you look up and you're down 3. So can Purple Rain make Jayhawks hoops pay for not creating this type of separation?
Mike, it just means there's a lot of points available.
So many points available. Yeah, there's a lot of points available. And honestly, we saw this from Jayhawks hoop last game a little bit. They got off to a slow start. Then you look up at the end of the game once they hit the Elam Ender, and they have 91 points, so they can score in bunches.
How fun is it, though, to be sitting here on July 21st at an event like this to give us a game like this?
It's why this tournament's the best, truly. I mean, you're just not going to find anything else like it. Again, I talked about it when I was down in Lexington. Some people want the beach. Some people want graduation parties. Stick me in a gym. Give me high stakes. Put $1 million on the line. And just even seeing these familiar faces from kind of college basketball lore and this type of rivalry. And I will say, too, I mean, these are 2 teams that have played in this tournament for a number of years, year to year. I mean, there's just so much that you deal with scheduling and when does this guy leave to go overseas and when does this guy get back from summer league. To just try to field a team and get out there to take the court is a massive accomplishment. And it's great to see these 2 teams playing each other. And you still need to advance to make it happen. These 2 teams did that, and there's a spot on the regional final up for grabs.
And Purple Rain without Jacob Pullen tonight, nursing a knee injury. Jacob Pullen scored 12 points in their opener against the Shine. Did not turn the ball over, played 39 minutes. Wasn't all that efficient, 3 for 13 from the field, but he stepped up in scoring and playmaking at the end of the game when it mattered for Purple Rain.
And even when he wasn't scoring the first 3 quarters, his gravity is just a guy that everybody knows on the floor can score. They made him a back screener. They moved him around the floor, and he was freeing up other guys just from the attention that the opposing team puts on him. So not having that, and you saw that kind of helter-skelter sequence that took place a few minutes ago, that's because you don't have a Jacob Pullen on the floor to slow things down.
Out of the second quarter break. Purple Rain a little strong on that mid-range jumper. Here's Zeke Mayo. Quiet offensively to start the night for Zeke Mayo, and a little tap out of bounds. Dominique Sutton called for the foul. Been a quiet start for Austin Trice, who was just so much fun to watch on Saturday. 20 and 10 for Austin Trice. See him right now matched up underneath on Cliff Alexander. Haven't heard much from Cliff Alexander either. He went for 17 and 11 for Jayhawks hoops the other night.
And a lot of that for Alexander was in that second half.
Here's Trice.
Yeah, this is just—it's a whole different ball game for Trice and these Purple Rain big men tonight. It's not, they had such a size advantage over the Shine in that first game, and now you look and you're trying to post up Cliff Alexander and David McCormick, and if it's not him, it's Jamari Traylor. Or it's Billy Preston at 6'10". It's just a very, very physical and large Jayhawks hoops team.
4 9-minute quarters here in TBT. Look from the wing, and there it is for Purple Rain, tied at 11. That ends the scoring drought. Nice look over there on the wing.
Yeah, Jada knocks it down there, and that's huge for him. 3 points and 3 turnovers in 18 minutes on Saturday. Struggled last year in this event. To see one go through there, they need to get him going because, like I said, with Jacob pulling out, there aren't a ton of options on the perimeter.
Jada dribbled it off his foot initially, stays here on this end. Deep three, and again, back-to-back possessions for Purple Rain. They have flipped on top. It's 14-11.
Yeah, Sean Williams was just absolutely phenomenal in that first-round game. Came off the bench, 21 points, scored in every single way. And you could tell, he was so good in the second quarter last game that once the third quarter hit and he's coming off the bench, it was the 7:05 mark, a minute 55 into the third quarter. They had to get Sean Williams back into the game. And from that point on, they kept him in there. And he was the one that propelled them there in the Elam Ending.
And there is a foul underneath. The officials in this game tonight, Crystal Hogan, RJ Johnson, and Anthony Burris, the 3 on the whistle. Justin Edwards picked up 2 fouls in 5 seconds. He'll go to the bench. Murray Traylor with the turnover. Actually, it was Trice that went to the bench.
We've talked about the struggles of Purple Rain offensively, but they've been very, very effective defensively, getting in passing lanes and being disruptive.
5 on the timer. Looking down the lane. Right hand scoop and score for Jada.
Really strong take. Jada playing with pace, freezing his man, getting by and finishing with the scoop. Collins out of half court is calling a timeout here.
Purple Rain wanted to travel. Sharon Collins, head coach of Jayhawks Hoops, at the timeout. Sharon Collins, what a storied player in that program's history. 4 straight Big 12 regular season titles, part of that elongated run for the Jayhawks that everybody watching this broadcast is very familiar with. Played from 2006 to 2010. He was a first-team All-American in 2010, Big 12 Tournament Most Outstanding Player. And that number 4 jersey is in the rafters for Sharon Collins.
Everybody thinks about the Mario Chalmers shot there in the national championship. How about the flip pass from Sharon Collins, almost falling to the ground to get it to Chalmers? One of the biggest shots in Kansas history.
That's not only one of the biggest shots in Kansas history, that's such an iconic moment in the history of our sport and how much fun that is to think back on. Crazy to think 17 years ago.
Yeah, I don't like thinking that. I really don't.
17 years ago. Hope from behind. Quick hands, up ahead, numbers. Martin dishes it off. And a 4-on-1 turns into points for Purple Rain. It's their largest lead of the night at 7.
And here come the turnover issues again for Jayhawks Hoops. And you can't compound those turnovers with not getting back in transition. They had an opportunity to catch back up to Purple Rain. Instead, there's 4 Purple Rain guys back around the rim and only 2 Jayhawks Hoops.
It's a 7-point lead now for Purple Rain. Playing inside Municipal Auditorium, opened in 1935. 90 years old this building is. Purple Rain, 7 of 24 from the field. Jayhawks Hoops, 4 of 14. Nick Timberlake looking underneath to Preston, and he finds the basket, and he'll get to the free throw line. Chance for a three-point play for Preston.
I'm telling you, every single time down the floor, how can I get Billy Preston around the rim? I understand he's so talented, can play out on the perimeter, and some of those guys that have that type of talent, that's where they want to be. They want to, hang dribble up top and get by their guy, because it's not as sexy to be under the basket posting up your man, but that's where he can get his work and force Purple Rain to have to adjust to it, because you collapse a defense on a post-entry pass like that. And we know at 6'10", he can make the passes over the top. So I want to see if Sharon Collins and this Jayhawks Hoops team just dials that up relentlessly, because they should.
Jayhawks now 4 of 5 from the free throw line. Purple Rain's only made one trip there. Martin coming out to set the screen. Now just a wide open mid-range. Gets his own rebound, flip back up and in. And that's Sean Williams for 2.
A couple Jayhawks Hoops guys leaking out on that first shot. Left Sean Williams the ability to follow his own shot for a bucket.
Whistle underneath, but an offensive foul on Kevin Young.
And I know some people watching, you could say, well, Dominique Sutton was inside the circle. It does not matter if you extend that elbow and lower your shoulder and you're out of control. That's going to go the other way. And I'll keep saying it. And we're now up to 8 turnovers for Jayhawks Hoops. And that's just been the Achilles heel for them in this tournament. When they don't turn the ball over, they don't have issues getting high-quality looks. But when you give the other team runouts.
Kick out in a corner 3 and a foul underneath on the rebound. This one, again, going on the Jayhawks. That'll be on Kelvin Amayo.
And guess who? Dominique Sutton fighting for position, using his leverage. He's so strong. He's so long. Creating an extra opportunity.
And a timeout taken by Purple Rain, their first, with just under 5 minutes to go here in the first half. Paul Fritchner, Mike Latulip with you. Purple Rain in those purple and black jerseys. Kansas State alumni. Sunflower Showdown. First time this game has been played in TBT. Jayhawks Hoops. Team started 2019 as self-made. They lost in the first round. They rebranded as Mass Street. They won 2 games each the last 2 years, but they can't get by that third game. That has been the one that has stood in the way of the Jayhawks. Trying to rewrite that script this year. Purple Rain, they lost in the first round last year to Team Colorado. They lost in the regional semis in 2023.
Curious what Clint Stewart decides to draw up here. Whatever it is, he feels good about it to burn a timeout here.
Knocked out of bounds. Stay with Purple Rain, trying to feed that ball to Jada.
Yeah, I thought Gordon actually had Jada over the top. Amayo had his back turned, and Sutton released to the top of the key.
.15 on the shot clock. Looking to Martin. Not a lot of space. 5 on the timer. To the bucket, spinning back. Sutton, no. Martin tried to tip it up. Purple Rain retains possession, but it slips into the hands of McCormick. Up ahead it goes. Drops it off. Inside. What a good use of that spacing on the floor to find Marcus Bell. Kind of ping-ponged around and ended up in his hands.
Yeah, and again, if Jayhawks Hoops doesn't turn the ball over, just like it was last game, they shot 60. Oh, my gosh.
Cam Martin.
Roll from Cam Martin.
The former Jayhawk gets a friendly roll for Purple Rain.
They were 26 of 38 from 2 last game, Jayhawks Hoops was, and now starting off this game 6 for 8. If they can just take care of the ball, they can get what they want in the paint.
Get right here.
But they got to take care of the ball.
Losing control up ahead. Chata back for three. Nope. That's travel. Couldn't get it off. Great closeout. And that brings us to our under 4 media timeout. That was Kevin Young there forcing the travel on that last shot. And it's a 7-point Purple Rain lead with 3:45 to go in this second quarter. Over 7,000 of you checking in on YouTube here this evening. Thousands in attendance at Municipal on a fun Monday night of basketball in the Midwest. Paul Fritchner, Mike LaTulip with you. We will have the regional final on Wednesday night as well. That'll be at 7 o'clock Eastern time, right here from Municipal as well.
And Hardfire looked impressive.
They did, didn't they?
They did. That is a complete team with just TBT legends up and down that roster.
Looking around the rest of the country yesterday, La Familia with a very narrow win over Auburn's alumni team yesterday at UK in the Lexington Regional. The Ville bowing out, as you mentioned in the last game. That is a shift in the power dynamics of this tournament to see the Ville bow out this early.
It is, and for those that are just tuning in or don't know, the way this tournament works this year is, there's basically a ranking of, who holds home court throughout the tournament, and, it starts with ticket sales, and the Ville, the Louisville alumni team, sat atop those rankings, so if they continued to win, they'd continue to host, and now that they get bounced, that power construct shifts and goes to La Familia, the Kentucky alumni team. So as long as La Familia wins and advances in the tournament, they will host. So just a massive development here yesterday in this tournament.
We talked about the rosters for both of these teams and the changes from game 1 to game 2. David McCormick available tonight and playing here for the Jayhawks. And then on the other side, Jacob Pullen not playing for Kansas State. But the other significant omission, Frank Mason finding his way to Boeheim's Army for the TBT this year.
Yeah, I'm looking at 9 turnovers, and that would not be as much of an issue with Frank Mason, that's for sure.
Nick Timberlake.
And it almost makes it worse because as I'm sitting here thinking about the Mario Chalmers shot, and I'm like, man, what a great moment in Kansas history. The flip side, a bad moment in Kansas history. Am I thinking of this correct? Like was it the Akeem Warwick block back in 2003 potentially in the Final Four against Kansas that led to Syracuse winning the national title, and now Frank Mason is going to play for the Syracuse alumni
That's a
team.
deep cut.
That is a deep, deep cut right there.
That's brave of you to bring that up on the broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a witness. I don't know. I want the Kansas faithful to say I feel for you.
Yeah, I agree. Frank Mason probably the number 1 topic as far as roster goes. Of course, McCormick's availability, unavailable in game 1, now here in this one. But Frank Mason probably the number 1 topic that we talked about in getting ready for this region. McCormick way off the mark there on his first free throw. Purple Rain with a 7-point lead.
And I'll say, as far as integrating players into a tournament, mid-tournament, David McCormick is one of the easier players to integrate because he's low maintenance. He doesn't need the ball. He'll rim run. He'll guard. He'll screen. He'll get offensive rebounds. Those are the type of guys that it doesn't take much for them to get acclimated with a new team.
Underneath the turnover. Opportunity for the Jayhawks out in front, running in transition, and they'll get back to the line with Kevin Young. Purple Rain outscoring the Jayhawks 15-6 here in the second quarter after it was an 11-8 Jayhawks lead in the first quarter.
I love Young's game. He's kind of cut from the same cloth as McCormick. Obviously different players in a way, but still same type of mentality. And that's why they were so key for Bill Self all those years, was you got guys that come into the game and you know exactly what you're getting from them. There's so much value in that.
Kevin Young splits the pair. Looking for Trice underneath, finds some room and the bucket.
What a great draw from Clint Stewart. They call it a Spain action. You're going to set a high ball screen up top, and then the roller is going to get a back screen. Really tough to communicate for Jayhawks hoops, and Trice finishes.
After 20 points for Austin Trice in the opener, that's his first bucket of the night. And a foul on the outside. That'll go against Kevin Young. That's his second foul.
And I like that from Pagankoff. You got Young on you, extended out to 40 feet. Don't play with the ball. Try to get by him. Use that shoulder to get under Young and try to get by. He creates a collision. Yeah, you can see there in the front row. I see Bill Self there in the white polo.
Yeah, right down there at the bottom of your screen. Shot off the mark. Offensive putback, no. Mayo up ahead, and he'll get to the line.
It's really strong from Mayo. Didn't look like he had much of a crevice or gap there, but kind of grips the ball like a running back trying to get through that crease. Absorbs the contact and has a chance here to make it a 5-point game for Jayhawks hoops.
Jayhawks have gotten to the line, but shooting just 54% coming into this free throw. 6 for 11, now make it 7 for 12. And certainly being aggressive and earning their way to the stripe.
Yeah, that's really been the saving grace for them. Even though they're 58% from the line right now, still getting 12 opportunities there compared to Purple Rain's 2 is massive.
8 of their 20 points have been at the free throw line. Jayhawks 0 for 9 from 3. That's 6 for 8 from inside the arc. Down the lane. Jayhawks got a jump ball there. Possession arrow to the Jayhawks. Tough defensive play, and they're rewarded.
If you're wondering why Jacob Hanna's on this roster and on the floor, he's an absolute dog.
And Jacob Hanna, 10 minutes. Talked about it a lot. He helped lead Washburn to the Division II Final Four. He was this conference's newcomer and Defensive Player of the Year this past season. And he finds his way here onto this Jayhawks hoops roster this summer. As another foul will send the Jayhawks to the line. David McCormick draws this one. A foul on DeJuan Gordon. That's his first.
And this is what I love about David McCormick. When he rolls, he rolls. He rolls hard. And the high ball screen set up top. And you got DeJuan Gordon guarding the ball, but McCormick rolls out so fast that Cam Martin has to stay with the ball handler. And Gordon's stuck down low with McCormick. McCormick's demanding the ball, and Gordon tries to fight over so hard that he gets called for a foul. It's textbook big man play from David McCormick, something that Jayhawks fans were obviously very familiar with throughout his career.
Under 2 to play here in this first half. McCormick off the mark on the free throw. They chase it down. Who was it last touched by? That was a Jayhawks hooper, and it'll go back to Purple Rain. Kind of had some space there, did Edwards. Underneath it goes to Sutton. Under 10 on the timer, will take a 3. Too strong, but the putback by Sutton. And Purple Rain in front by 7.
And Sutton just always finds a way to be in the right spot. Ball drops right in his lap for the easy deuce.
That ball trickling out of bounds underneath. Zeke Mayo goes to the floor. Purple Rain is keeping Jayhawks hoops at an arm's length right now.
Yeah, I like that Jayhawks hoops and Zeke Mayo in particular is making a concerted effort to get downhill with the dribble drive, get into the paint. But I still look at the 8 at 15 from the free throw line. When they get their chances, they have to convert it from the stripe.
Poked away. Turnover. Out the other way. Kick out. Trice! Oh, almost a highlight reel dunk.
Trice puts his hands on his head. He knows that he would have had one of the highlights of the tournament and a poster if he converted that.
Wow. It would have been hard to have a better dunk in TBT 2025 had that one gone down, but instead results in a Jayhawks possession. Let's see if the Jayhawks can make something of it here. With just about 40 seconds to go in the first half. Preston's had a quiet first half, but a runner falls through the strings. It's down to a 5-point game.
Every time Billy Preston finds himself in the paint, something good happens. Almost every single time.
4-second difference between the shot clock and game clock.
Big stop potentially for Jayhawks hoops.
Ball in the hands of Sutton on the outside. Sutton driving the left side of the lane against Preston, and he'll go to the free throw line. That's a foul on Billy Preston. It's his first.
And that looks like a guy that's been playing professionally for about 15 years. We saw Shea Gilgeous-Alexander do such a good job of that throughout the course of this season and his career, where the second you get that angle on your guy and you go hip to hip, you sell the contact, and that's what Dominique Sutton did there to get two.
And Sutton off the mark on the first. Purple Rain now 1 for 3 from the free throw line tonight. And he misses both. The chance for the Jayhawks to bring it to a one-possession game at the buzzer. Mayo doesn't get the shot off, and it was off the rim anyway. So at the end of the first half at Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City, points were at a premium, and it is Purple Rain with a 5-point lead at 27-22. Mike LaTulip, your takeaways here from the first half before we go to a break.
Again, not the prettiest offensive performance we've seen on either side, but for Purple Rain, I thought they were just a tougher team in that first half and were able to fight through the offensive lows a little bit better than Jayhawks hoops. But Jayhawks hoops, I mean, just look, 0 of 10 from 3, 8 of 15 from the free throw line, and 10 turnovers. That's not good offensive basketball, and yet you're down 5. So you got to think, if you turn those things around, you ball security and find those high percentage shots, which are really 7 of 9 now from 2, this could be a really different outcome here in the second half.
Yeah, 0 for 10 from 3 really stands out, obviously, for the Jayhawks. You get a couple of those to fall, and you're in the lead. Just a couple. Just you go 2 for 10, and it's a 28-27 lead. It's an entirely different ball game. But you're only down 5. It's a low-scoring game. Try to come out here in the second half and try to convert some of those open looks, like you said.
Yeah, and it's not just Jayhawks hoops just sitting there and missing shots. Purple Rain has had something to do with that. They've been really good in gaps, really disruptive, as I mentioned, defensively. And so that 0 for 10 from 3, it's not just 0 for 10 catch-and-shoot looks. I mean, these are very tough shots. The shot quality is a little bit low right now for Jayhawks hoops. So I want to see them defensively, see if they can turn that into offense and get more out on the break. We saw them do that a few times for runouts. They need to do a little bit more of that.
2 quarters down, 2 quarters to go from Kansas City. Purple Rain, the Kansas State alumni, lead Jayhawks hoops 27-22. to 22. Halftime is 12 minutes in TBT, so we have about 9 minutes remaining before the second half gets underway. We're going to step away, take a break, and we'll be back for the second half on the TBT YouTube channel. Stick with us, everybody. 1 half to go from Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City as Purple Rain, the Kansas State alumni, leads Jayhawks hoops 27-22. Paul Fritchner alongside Mike LaTulip. The third quarter, a full 9 minutes before the Elam ending in the fourth quarter at the under 4 media timeout. In the first half of action, Mike LaTulip, it was a tough go of it offensively in the first quarter for Purple Rain. Only 8 points, but then 19 in the second quarter. They were able to kind of navigate that Jayhawks defensive unit a little easier than in the first 9 minutes. And on the other side for the Jayhawks hoops, 11 points in both quarters. The free throw line is what kept them in it. 8 of their 22 points came at the free throw line, but the difference has been the Jayhawks hoops 0 for 10 from 3 in this game. They are 7 of 9 from inside the arc, but have yet to make a shot from distance.
I want to see if Sharon Collins is in there at halftime saying, hey, we got to get the ball in the paint. I don't care if it's Cliff Alexander, if it's Billy Preston, if it's David McCormick, or if it's even Zeke Mayo or any of these guys off the bounce trying to get in there. They've been too good and too efficient, despite not being efficient in these other areas. I'm really, really curious to see if there's a change here. And they got to take care of the ball, too. I thought Purple Rain did such a good job in that second quarter. Another 6 turnovers forced as they turn it over. Just hasn't been pretty offensive basketball in this game.
Cartier-Jada on the turnover. Underway in the second half. Mayo working through contact all the way to the hoop. Nifty move, but Trice pulls it off the rim. Now for 3. Tipped up, and that circles around and in. Cam Martin was there.
I mean, Cam Martin's been absolutely everywhere. I know he's got all the reason to be fired up to play in this game, but 3 rebounds on the day. Now, I swear, it could be 6 or 7. He's kept 3 or 4 balls alive on the offensive glass for Purple Rain.
Yeah, he has hit a 3, and he's up to 9 points. He's Purple Rain's leading scorer. He's the leading scorer in this game. Jayhawks hoops, nobody has more than 5. Billy Preston and Marcus Bell both with 5. Mayo stopped in the lane. Now a long 3 for Alexander. Jayhawks, their first points of the second half.
0 for 10 from 3, and who's the guy that breaks the seal? It's Cliff Alexander.
17 and 11 for the big fella in the first one on Saturday. And there's a bucket to respond. Nice little shot by Cartier-Jada.
Yeah, that's just not enough resistance defensively there. I get being in drop coverage, but that is a really deep drop that makes a guy like Cartier-Jada feel pretty darn comfortable.
Step back. No, for Preston. Pulled off by Trice. Up ahead it goes. Juan Gordon all the way to the bucket. And another whistle. A lot of fouls in the first half. There were 15 fouls called in the first half on Purple Rain. 7 called on the Jayhawks. Now 8 for the game.
Well, it's definitely been a physical game. And I think that's somewhat contributed to some of the sloppiness we've seen. But we watched that Shine Purple Rain game yesterday. I mean, that was a football game.
That's right.
So Purple Rain probably feels right at home with this type of physicality.
Billy Preston. See if Billy Preston looks to create some more in this second half. Here he goes to the rim, and he draws the foul on the floor. That's a foul called on Sutton.
I'm telling you, every time Billy Preston gets below the free throw line in any capacity, something good happens. Either he finishes or he draws a foul. He's 6'10". He's always creating collisions.
Mayo step back. You can tell he thought about that 3.
I thought he didn't need to break off the curl cut. I thought he could have kept penetrating.
If Alexander tosses it up. Trice right there again. Purple Rain content right now. Playing with A little bit. Trice and the foul. Here comes Austin Trice.
It's a lot of what we saw from Trice on Saturday. He's just relentless, plays with great energy. He owned the glass, he owned the paint. And you saw right there, Cam Martin sprints up to the top of the key, and you're thinking, man, is Cam Martin going to rip another three again? Just how overzealous he's been, but it's really a catch at the top to go high-low with Austin Trice, and Cliff Alexander just lets Trice face cut him and get position. That's an easy high-low for a bucket.
A 10-point lead for Purple Rain. That's their largest of the evening.
Like that Trice stared at his hand after that free throw.
Mayo turning the corner, looking around. And a foul as he ended up just taking it himself.
It's really good patience from Zeke Mayo. And that's the beauty of playing off of 2 feet, right? When you come to a 2-foot stop, now you got options. You can pivot with either foot. And at that point, he decides to pivot with the left and extend with the right, and looked off his defender to the man in the corner. Finds himself shooting 2.
Mayo brings it back into single digits. Zeke Mayo, again, 11 points in the opener. Looking for more out of him in this second half. Now up to 6 points on tonight's game. Purple Rain feeding inside to Martin. Up top it goes. Tipped away. Jayhawks looking to start a run.
Felt like an overpass from Martin. I don't think he needed to throw that lob. Just catch and put it up.
Mayo has it blocked away. Great save inbounds, and here comes Trice and Purple Rain. Be a 3-ball. No, and it's out of the reach, but Jota comes in, gets the rebound, puts it up, and foul is on the floor. Purple Rain wanted the and one on a circus shot, but foul's on the floor.
And I'm wondering, is it Zeke Mayo that's not back in the picture here? You know, Mayo's out now. Tyshawn Taylor, that's the ovation that we heard. Was Tyshawn Taylor taking in the game.
Tyshawn Taylor just played 2 minutes on Saturday, didn't score, and he checks in here.
Well, you can see why he's in. This group desperately needs someone to orchestrate things a little bit.
Billy Preston fighting for it. Kevin Young is there. The Jayhawks come away with it. To the bucket. No, off the front of the rim. Offensive board. Bell, no. Still up, and Bell finally flexes through the hoop.
Well, it's a great job, Hannah, trying to finish, but Bell chasing it down and was surrounded by 3 other Purple Rain players and still gets it up and finishes. That's great hustle from Marcus Bell.
The Purple Rain lead is down to 6. From its largest point at 10. 9-minute third quarter, and then we'll play the fourth quarter until the Elam Ending. If you are new to TBT, the Elam Ending at the under 4 media timeout of the fourth quarter. That's where the clock will be turned off. 8 points be added to the leading team score as Austin Trice got fouled on what again would have been a highlight reel dunk. The Elam Ending would have gotten spectacular advertisement as I finished up that explanation over what could have been the best dunk of the tournament.
And Austin Trice says a word that we absolutely cannot say on this broadcast as he's upset with himself. But, man, would have been his second. As far as missed dunks go, he's got some of the best in the tournament for sure, with 2 really highlight missed dunks today.
cleaning up some wet spots on the floor. Had 20 and 10 for Trice the other night in 35 minutes starting the game. Tossed in a couple assists, had a couple steals, had a block.
And it just feels like everything he does injects energy into this team. I think you can say the same about Dominic Sutton. Trice just such an active player. As he stares at his hand again. And I think the reason he's staring at his hand is because last game he went to the free throw line and walked over to the sideline and wiped off his hands for what felt like a minute straight and then shot the free throw off the backboard. So now I think he's kind of settled in, has a rhythm on the line.
Fun one brewing here at Municipal as Trice misses the second free throw, but Purple Rain, an offensive rebound, nearly thrown in the backcourt. Shot clock back to 20. Behind the back pass to Cam Martin, got a screen, but off the mark on a three. Jayhawks take it over.
Well, you could tell, too stuck with the ball there on Williams, and the behind-the-back pass, a great pin-in from Justin Edwards, and a really clean look from Cam Martin, just doesn't get it to fall.
Winner of this game to take on the Kansas City Regional's top seed, Heartfire. Going around the top, feeding inside. Preston outside to Taylor. Looking around, no, but then the follow from Bell for two. Up ahead, looking for Trice, knocked out of bounds.
How about that hustle from Bell?
Yeah,
you finish on one end, and Trice tries to make a mad dash to the front of the rim, and you're able to catch him, get a hand on the ball, and knock it out of bounds.
Ball thrown into the backcourt.
It feels like in the last few minutes, Jayhawks Hoops has been able to speed Purple Rain up a bit.
Martin again, no. The follow, no, by Trice.
He is ever.
And here comes the Jayhawks. 4 minutes to go in the third. Drama building at Municipal. Tyshawn Taylor down the lane, spinning off the glass, no. Gets the board and the putback. Timeout taken. Jayhawks Hoops within three. Crowd on its feet at Municipal.
The crowd initially got on their feet when Tyshawn Taylor checked into the game, and it just feels like the energy is completely shifted. Started on the defensive end, and then Tyshawn missing his shot but staying with it for the putback, and Jayhawks Hoops is right back in this thing.
(36-33). Purple Rain with a 3-point edge, but just a 9 points so far in this third quarter after 19 in the second quarter. Jayhawks with 11 points each in the first and second. They've already scored 11 here in this quarter. Baskets coming easier and defense turning into offense. Tyshawn Taylor. What a fun segment from him.
And that's what I love about this tournament. When you see a guy like Tyshawn Taylor, who is just such a fixture for Kansas basketball, Bill Self on the sideline, Agbaji, Christian Braun, and then it's Tyshawn Taylor who has a part in swinging this game.
It was all Purple Rain in that second quarter. And it is built back here in the third. TBT delivering a gem of a game in the middle of July. David McCormick on the floor here tonight for the Jayhawks. And no Jacob Pullen for Kansas State. That's the storyline coming in.
Something to monitor here with Jayhawks Hoops. Zeke Mayo doesn't have his jersey on the bench. So this Tyshawn Taylor emergence and injection of energy
might need to last.
Could be here to stay.
See Kansas coach Bill Self down there at the bottom of your screen. A lot of Kansas, both alums and current players, have been in attendance over the last couple of days to watch the Jayhawks.
It's a great opportunity to either plan an event, get a dinner, anything with to get all alumni in one place. Guys play in the NBA, they play overseas. It's hard to corral everyone once they leave campus, and this tournament gives you a great opportunity to do that.
Step back and a shot. Sean Williams, a desperately needed three, and now some chippiness. Marcus Bell with some talking after that made shot. Dominique Sutton was right there.
And this is what we expected. Some sparks to fly at some point.
I'm surprised it took till the third quarter.
But what I've also expected is for Sean Williams to put his imprint on this game. How good he was in that first round game, and then today there's just a fearlessness to his game. He scores at all three levels, and with the absence of Jacob Pullen, Sean Williams is still kind of the hero in the Elam Ending. I mean, it's 84-80. He knocks down a pull-up, gets a defensive stop, and then knocks down a three to send the Shine packing and send Purple Rain to the next round. And 3:29 left in the third, and in the fourth quarter, Elam to go. It's might be the Sean Williams show. We might have had some blood on the jersey for Zeke Mayo.
Yeah, Zeke Mayo has changed his number here mid-game to 26, and he is back and available. But he needed a new jersey, and that's why he was sitting there on the bench in just a T-shirt. So you can see Zeke Mayo at the top of your screen in those yellow shoes, ready to come back in when he gets his name called. The Purple Rain, after that three, now up 6. Dropped off, driving, foul.
You get Jacob Hanna with a head full of steam going downhill. That's tough to stop.
So Sean Williams, he picks up 2 fouls in a span of 14 seconds.
I'm kind of surprised that wasn't a shooting foul. Felt like Hanna had gathered with the contact.
Williams goes to the bench. Here's Hanna looking for space. Preston now. Preston a step back three. Sutton. And a turnover. How about those hands? Taylor.
Guess who?
And one there, and this crowd would have been deafening. Already to their feet here to get Tyshawn Taylor back to the line. Again, Tyshawn Taylor didn't score, and he only played 2 minutes on Saturday. Here tonight, a rebound and an assist, and can add to a couple of points he's already scored.
And I'm pretty sure Tyshawn Taylor just signaled to Sharon Collins to get David McCormick in the game.
Yeah, we haven't seen David McCormick much here in the last couple of minutes. Has been able to get some rest and come slowly back in the game.
And we know Tyshawn Taylor, again, we talk about a guy like him being an extension of the coach on the floor. He's a big reason why this team is put together. I mean, I know he's had a huge hand in getting these guys to buy in, to show up. And then we saw in that first round game against Off the Hook, when he's on the bench, he's just standing and he's barking, and he's almost like a second coach out there. So it's just really, really cool to see from Tyshawn Taylor.
Jayhawks within 5 after the Taylor free throw. Offense has been quiet for Purple Rain, but they maintain a 5-point lead. 3 a couple minutes ago. Trice short on that. Did it get deflected out of bounds? It did. It'll stay with Purple Rain.
Whether or not it was deflected, when you airball it as a as a shooter, the guy shooting it, you better signal that it got deflected.
And a foul. That'll go on McCormick.
And now both teams in the bonus, and McCormick gets caught swiping there. And I'll say this about McCormick: 48 steals this year over in Germany for Alba Berlin. And I'm not sure I've ever seen a big man at his size have the hands that he has when he's hedging ball screens. Because when you go back and watch the steals that he had, they're really all in that form. It's stripping his opponent when they're coming off the screen, when a ball handler's coming off, when there's a roll to the basket. You got to be on high alert when McCormick's in the vicinity.
Purple Rain has just one made field goal since the 6:29 mark in this quarter. That was the 3 from Sean Williams about a minute ago.
They've been able to get to the free throw line a little bit more this quarter compared to the previous 2. I think that's settled them down a little bit.
McCormick underneath on the lob. He'll go to the free throw line.
That's a great rotation by Agbuda under the basket. That saved a lob and an absolute hammer.
Yeah, David McCormick just 1 for 4 from the stripe today. Winner of this game to play the top seed in the Kansas region. Kansas City region is Heartfire. They won their game earlier this evening in convincing fashion, beating the Sheffield Sharks out of the UK. Pair of free throws good for David McCormick, and it's a 4-point game.
And the jawing is ramped up on both sides. They're talking now.
Hagenkoff, he's been quiet tonight. That ball goes out of bounds. That was off the foot of Agbuda. Oh, they're going to change the call? I don't know about that.
He's sticking with it.
Both teams pleading their case, and they overturn the call.
That looked. We don't have the clearest view, but that looked very much like it went off the foot of Emmanuel Agbuda. It absolutely hit Preston's foot at one point.
Ooh, that. Taking a look back.
Off Preston?
It looked like it went off the foot of Agbuda. But we'll see here how this possession ends up for Purple Rain. A 4-point lead, 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. Drama building at Municipal. Pull up, short. There's the rebound and a run out for Mayo back in the game wearing the 26, trying to get the foul, and he can't. Goes to the floor. Crazy pace. Pagan-Call. Step back 3. No. Price on the follow. Now up ahead it goes. Back to Mayo. And the lay-in.
I love that from Mayo. Bouncing back. He played for the foul the first time. Instead of just finishing at the rim, that time finishes. What an outlet pass from David McCormick. My goodness.
Jada. Step back. Short.
I mean, the defensive intensity for Jayhawks hoops has just ramped up in this third quarter. There's nothing easy right now for Purple Rain.
Yeah, just one made field goal for Purple Rain in the last 6 minutes. Tyshawn Taylor to the bucket, lays it in. We are tied with 1 minute to go in the third quarter. This building has erupted in a Sunflower showdown in July in Kansas City. Trice, no, pass underneath, but it's blocked from behind. McCormick saves it in. Mayo No, thought about the three. Now he'll take it. Yes! Jada for the answer. Off the back rim, and JHX hoops. Behind incredible defensive work over the last 6 minutes. Takes a 43-40 lead into the final quarter at Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City.
You've got a smile on your face if you're a Kansas fan, because Tyshawn Taylor came in and flipped that game in the third quarter, and then David McCormick coming in and just providing such a defensive presence, being active, disruptive in gaps, disruptive at the rim, some really, really slick outlet passes. And then Zeke Mayo, I thought on that possession, it was interesting. Taylor had the flip to Mayo initially and just waited just a little bit too long, and the gap closed. Mayo couldn't get the shot off. He flips it back to Taylor and then just relocates, and Purple Rain loses him, and you leave a 42% three-point shooter for a tee-up. And that's cash from Mayo.
Purple Rain outscored the Jayhawks 19-11 in the second quarter. And Mike, I'll ask you this. What does Purple Rain need to do to recapture some of that magic and momentum that they had going into halftime?
Well, it would help if Jacob Pullen put on a jersey. I mean, just because that's part of it right now for Purple Rain is it's hard for them to get into anything because they don't necessarily have a true point guard. So right now they're playing a lot through Trice in the middle third of the floor, and there's a lot of dribbling from Diarra and from Pagankoff. They got to find a way. I think Sean Williams has to be the guy for them. Sean Williams has to have the ball in his hands and has to be triggering things for this Purple Rain team in the fourth quarter in Elam Ending.
The magic that Sean Williams was able to create on Saturday afternoon to even get us to a point where Purple Rain was playing in this game was so fun to watch. And we will see if Sean Williams maybe has another few moments in him coming down the stretch here in the fourth quarter for the Kansas State Alumni. And Purple Rain trailing it by 3. They made just one field goal in the final 6 minutes, but certainly a long way to go. Folks, if this is your first time watching TBT, again, at the under 4 media timeout, the first dead ball at the 4-minute mark or beyond here in the fourth quarter, the play will stop and we will set a target score. That target score will be 8 more than the leading team's score, and the first team to reach that point total will win the game. So every game in TBT ends on a game-winning shot.
Yeah, you can see Sean Williams starting the fourth quarter on the bench. He's sitting on 5 fouls right now, so 1 away from disqualification. I wonder if that's what Clint Stewart is kind of holding them back from right now.
Zeke Mayo had to switch jerseys, now wearing 26. Mayo will take a 3. And now here's a chance for Purple Rain to settle things down. You get that quarter break, get some time to catch your breath.
Purple Rain was really fortunate there. Labeled on a screen up top from McCormick, and Mayo had a tee-up.
Gotta down the lane. That's blocked, but a foul, and they'll go to the free throw line.
When McCormick came back in the game in the third quarter, he almost immediately started jawing with guys. He's played with just an energy and tenacity about him that has really helped turn the tide in Jayhawks hoops' favor. And I think Cartier Jada is another guy that I've just really liked his aggressiveness and getting downhill, and 7 points on the day, a chance to make it 8 or 9. They're going to need that. With Sean Williams on the bench with 5 fouls, he's got to be the guy triggering things getting downhill.
First free throw off the mark. Purple Rain has certainly left some points at the line tonight. Just 5 for 12 from the free throw line. Make it 5 for 13, but they get a break there as David McCormick can't corral the rebound, and it'll stay on this end.
and I get no Jacob pulling out there, so it's a little bit different, but this is a Purple Rain team that was down 12 heading into the fourth quarter yesterday. They're battle-tested in this tournament.
Tough look, off the mark. Cam Martin fights for the board, but ends up in the hands of McCormick. Now all the way across the court, Amayo. And going to the line will be Jacob Hanna.
It seems super trivial what I'm about to say, but David McCormick has had 3 outlet passes in about the last 5 minutes of game times that is probably as good as I've seen in the Kansas City Regional, and how important that is if you're not creating turnovers and you can't get runouts like that, to have a guy like McCormick that has the vision off the rebounds to be able to see ahead and get the ball up and get guys like Hanna and Mayo out on the run. It's just been huge. Now, if you're Jayhawks Hoop, we just talked about Purple Rain struggles from the line, 5 of 13. Jayhawks Hoop is sitting around 60% as well, 14 of 23. Neither team shooting it well from the strike. And does that become important in the Elam Ending?
Yeah, no doubt about it. See the defensive pressure here rattling up, and it causes Jayhawks Hoops get the ball off a turnover. And a wild shot, Cam Martin there, and then a foul at midcourt. Gerald Vick there on the foul.
And every foul of these first 5 minutes of the fourth quarter are crucial as we head to that Elam Ending. You get the bonus in the Elam Ending. It is a free throw and the ball back.
Gerald Vick, a quiet night tonight, has not scored. He's 0 for 2 from the field, has a rebound. And it's his first foul. Cartier Jada now finding Sutton. Jada driving, trying to get to his left there. And a foul on Amayo.
I like the design on the play. What they're trying to do is get Jada driving right, and eventually Pagankoff's going to set a back screen for Sutton to roll to the basket. So Jada has that option coming off his right hand. You have Sutton on a roll, and then Pagankoff is coming back to wrap around back behind Jada off a screen from Martin. Got a lot of options out of it. And you get another foul on Jayhawks Hoops.
Martin thought about it twice, driving, and he flips it up and in. A desperately needed shot for Purple Rain, and they're within 2.
Cam Martin's talking. I wonder what Bill Self is. He's one of my guys, right?
Former Jayhawk, Cam Martin. Martin had a hot start to the game, had a couple buckets in the first quarter, but hasn't done a ton of scoring since. He's up to 11 on the night. He does have 3 fouls. 7:02 remaining in the game. Driving down the lane, right to the bucket. A nice move for Jacob Hanna through the defense.
How good has Hanna been? Up to 7 points on the day, and it's really been his defense too. His presence out there. That's why Strong Collins can't take him off the floor. Bringing it on both ends.
Jacob Hanna, conference's defensive player of the year last year at D2, but Purple Rain answers with a 3. Another one off the hands of Cam Martin, taking it into his own hands to will Purple Rain back into this game. And then Mayo called for steps, and Purple Rain can retake the lead on this possession. This is a fun one in Kansas City. Paul Fritchner, Mike Latulip with you on a Monday night. This Sunflower Showdown. Martin again. No. Put back. Tipped around. Preston.
Risky gamble there from McCormick. Or Martin's hit a few. You give him another tee up.
Underneath. Martin comes down on the double. Here's McCormick working against Sutton. The other way. Martin thought about it. Feeds inside. Pagankoff almost threw it out of bounds. Pinballs around to Pagankoff. Sutton Plenty of time on the shot clock. And that ball goes out of bounds, last touched by Preston.
And here comes Sean Williams and Austin Trice. You know, it's interesting, on Saturday, Purple Rain really rolled with Austin Trice at the 5. Cam Martin didn't get much time there in the second half, but can't really take Cam Martin off the floor right now. But we got a fun minute and 23 leading up to this Elam ending. And then if it holds like it is right now, we are in store for an unbelievable finish.
Ten on the shot clock.
Trice is down low with Mayo.
Looking inside, slicing into the rim. Edwards couldn't get that shot to fall. We have a minute to go to the Elam ending. Here's Tyshawn Taylor back in the game. The Kansas legend has been a spark plug for this team. And at the right hand, he continues to just dominate this second half. It is a 48-45 Jayhawks lead. Tyshawn Taylor up to 7 points, but you've been able to feel his impact all over the court. Nifty ball handling, step back three, too strong. Offensive rebound, another three, yes! Tied again!
Look down at your watch, it's Sean Williams time. This is exactly what we saw on Saturday. When the lights are bright and the moment's big, Sean Williams is there.
Going up and putting it down. David McCormick, 2-point lead. And we're getting close to the Elam ending.
Stopped. I mean, what do you do if you're Jayhawks hoops here? Do you foul to set the score when it goes under 4? That puts you one foul away from the bonus. Or do you play it out?
It's like they're going to play it out to the rim, and that'll send us to the Elam ending. The score will be set at 58. With Purple Rain going to the free throw line after the timeout here.
I think he's going to shoot him now. And then we have a chance to have a tie ball game heading into the Elam ending.
Got the first. It's Jada at the line. Jada.
Nice.
Up to 7, and now we're going to have a stoppage. Purple Rain putting their hands in the air, and
it was a shooting foul, wasn't it?
I get it.
I mean, they wouldn't be in the bonus anyways. Talk about an icing. Jada can step up and knock this down.
Jada hits them both.
That's nails right there.
Now here we go. All tied at 50 into the Elam ending. You couldn't ask for more. A Sunflower Showdown on July 21st. And we're tied with 8 points left to decide who moves on to the regional final on Wednesday night. It's 7 Eastern time. 6 Central against the top seed in the region, Heartfire.
Well, I said at the top of the broadcast, we had a steel cage match on our hands and knotted at 50 heading into the Elam ending here. This has a chance to get out of control. I mean, just from some of the sequences we've seen in this game.
Sean Williams, a team-high 21 points the other day against the Shine. First-year player on this Purple Rain team, but man, did he hit some clutch shots when Purple Rain needed him, and He's playing with those 5 fouls. 6 is disqualification.
He's got to be smart.
And so he definitely has to be smart. But at the same point, Mike, he needs to be on the floor for this team.
He does. And again, the absence of Jacob Poland. Why Jacob Poland is so important is because when Jacob Poland's not playing, he's over there drawing up plays on the clipboard like you just saw him doing now. That's the dual purpose you get with Jacob Poland. It's unbelievable player, and it's kind of leading the huddle right now as they head into the Elam Ending.
Target score is 58. The first team to hit 58 wins this game here tonight. Leading scorers for both teams, Cam Martin, the former Jayhawk, with 14 for Purple Rain, and Zeke Mayo with 11 for the Jayhawks. Marcus Bell has 9. Tyshawn Taylor and David McCormick both with 7. Cliff Alexander, he's been limited to just 3 points. Alexander had 17 and 11 in the opener. He has 3 and 4 here tonight.
Yeah, I think we knew with David McCormick coming into the fold, it was going to be a little bit different with how they managed that front court rotation. It's kind of fascinating. I mentioned the 5 fouls that Sean Williams has right now. Nobody on Jayhawks hoops. I mean, Billy Preston has 3. Other than that, everybody has 2 or less. So they're in pretty good shape right now as far as foul troubles go.
Here we go into the Elam Ending. On the court for Jayhawks hoops, Tyshawn Taylor, Gerald Vick, Zeke Mayo, Billy Preston, and David McCormick. For Purple Rain, Cartier Jada, Justin Edwards, Austin Trice, Sean Williams, and Cam Martin. Mayo down the lane. No. McCormick skies in for the board. And he gets fouled.
And I love Sharon Collins just simplifying things. You know, we don't need to run some sort of crazy play out of the Elam Ending. Just go high ball screen for Zeke Mayo at half court and let him get the advantage and get downhill. Great job from McCormick tracking that ball down.
Here's Taylor up top.
Great job from Jada, just top locking Mayo on the baseline, not allowing him to come back out to the corner.
Taylor has it poked from behind. 6 on the shot clock. Something to keep in mind here for the Jayhawks.
You can't get too spread out if you're Purple Rain here and give up an offensive rebound for Jayhawks hoops if this ball comes off the rim.
Zeke Mayo gets fouled. Jada gets called on it. That's his 4th. Shot clock resets to 20. Mayo. Outside, Preston, some room for 3. Martin working against McCormick. They'll go outside. Mayo right on him. Nada looking for a screen. Martin for 3. Back and forth we go to start the Elam Ending. Taylor. And he gets fouled.
Taylor, as far as, you know, Mayo's done a good job of it too, but Taylor's done such a good job of just finding his way into the paint. We saw him do that his whole career, both collegiately and professionally, but he's just changed the game with his energy, and there's no surprise he's on the floor here for the Elam Ending.
There's a foul. That'll be the 5th foul on Purple Rain, which means David McCormick will go to the line.
3 for 6 today, so may not be the worst thing if you're Purple Rain, but the problem when you get into the bonus in the Elam Ending is whether McCormick makes this or misses this, they're getting the ball back.
It's in the Elam Ending. It is 1 free throw and the ball. And he hits the free throw. First point of the Elam Ending.
Cam Martin checks out. He's taken more threes in this game today than he did, pretty much as many as he did his entire G League season this year. 7.
It'll be a LeGerald pick on the inbound to Mayo. Down the lane, lays it up, almost got it to drop for the and one, but they'll be to the line.
And it's the threat of the McCormick roll. He's such a good rim runner. He screens and gets out of there so fast. Some guys screen and shuffle out. He screens and sprints out. And what that did for Trice was get Trice paranoid about the lob, so he stayed with McCormick, and Mayo had just a free run downhill. And this turned into almost like a soccer game where a team just dominating one side of the floor.
Between
the foul and get the ball back.
Yeah, fouling, retaining possession. Mayo here will be shooting 2. Hush at Municipal Auditorium is Mayo. It's them both. All 3 points of the Elam Ending so far for the Jayhawks have been at the free throw line.
And how about after an 8 for 15 start from the free throw line, 9 for 11 since for Jayhawks hoops. When you need it the most.
Purple Rain in need of a bucket. Puts it up and in. What a shot.
Play by Justin Edwards.
A circus shot from Justin Edwards finds its way through the rim.
And then they're able to set their defense because he got his hand in on the inbounds pass. Knock it out of bounds.
A 1-point game again. Nice Sean Taylor. Trying to get to the bucket. And a jump ball called, possession arrow to Purple Rain.
And this is a Justin Edwards guy that played 2 minutes yesterday, and now here he is in the Elam Ending. You get a big-time bucket and then a big-time defensive play, accepting the contact and wrapping up that basketball.
And Justin Edwards, he was the 2012 America East Rookie of the Year at Maine. Spent 3 seasons at Kansas State, scored over 1,500 points. And here's Sean Williams dancing around. It's rid of the ball for 3. Yes! Purple Rain within a 3 of sending Jayhawks hoops home.
Cartier got it. My goodness.
And an offensive foul called on McCormick on the screen.
And this is just a lot of what we saw on Saturday from Purple Rain. You can't kill them. They just keep coming at you. It doesn't matter who they cycle in. It seems like everyone's willing to step up and make a big play.
And now Mike LaTulip, what do you do here if you're Purple Rain? Do you take a 3 for the win? You're up by 2. Jayhawks are 2 possessions away from being able to win this, or do you go for an easy 2 and know that you can score it on your next possession and win it?
I don't think you predetermine it. I think you do what Purple Rain's been doing in the last 5 minutes or so. It's just been a lot of aggression offensively where it's, hey, mano-a-mano, who's my matchup, attack, get downhill, and then just read out of it, play basketball. We get into the Elam Ending sometimes, and guys start acting a little out of character. Just do what brought you to the dance and play solid basketball. If the 3's there, great. If you get it off a good look, great. But you certainly don't need to force it. And this stop is really important too, because that may determine it. Because if Jayhawks hoops scores here and makes it 55-55 or 56-55, that could change your plan. Maybe 56-55, hey, let's go for it. When we talked about it before in football, you get all the way down and score. Now do you want to give the team the ball back for quote-unquote overtime, or do you want to go for the 2-point conversion and win it?
It is Purple Rain basketball. A 3, and they're moving on to the regional final. Justin Edwards will inbound. Edwards gets it into Jada. Who could be the hero for Purple Rain? The 3 ball was off the mark, but a foul, and it's going against Purple Rain. That's on Austin Trice. Drama building in Kansas City.
We got our answer. We got our answer. They were going for it.
As Sean Williams was looking for a 3. Tyshawn Taylor laying it up. It's blocked.
Can't get too spread out if you're Jayhawks hoops.
Underneath to Trice. They'll go to the line and shoot a pair.
And someone's got to kind of huddle up Jayhawks hoops right now. Get everyone together. They're kind of losing their minds right now. This is what this Elam Ending does to you, man.
That foul on David McCormick, his 4th. Free throw for Trice is good.
And now if you're Jayhawks hoops, what's plagued you this whole entire tournament? What's been your Achilles heel? It's taking care of the basketball. You cannot afford a turnover and a run out here for Purple Rain.
Got them both. Ball in the hands of Tyshawn Taylor. Back to Mayo here. Crowd on its feet. Underneath to McCormick. Lost the ball, but it went out of bounds. Last touch by Purple Rain. You said, taking care of the ball. He almost lost it.
And just, they're struggling right now. A lot of the guys on the perimeter for Jayhawks hoops right now, particularly Zeke Mayo, Cartier Diarra and Sean Williams, Dominique Sutton when he switched out there, Justin Edwards. There's not a lot of separation that's being created. Mayo was trying to free himself up there, and Diarra just gave him absolutely nowhere to go.
Preston flips it up, no good. And a basket wins it for Purple Rain.
We got numbers now.
Slicing through, laying it up, off the front of the rim, but a foul called, and it's going the other way. They were that close.
I thought for a second there, Jayhawks hoops had 4 guys below the free throw line in the backcourt. And I think if you're Purple Rain, it was almost like they went too far down court, the guys that were up ahead, and there needed somebody to be an outlet to throw that ball up ahead. They could have maybe finished this thing out.
David McCormick waiting to go to the line. He is 4 for 7 from the free throw line today. Half his points have come at the charity stripe. As a team, the Jayhawks 17 of 26, 65% from the line. Purple Rain 8 of 16. McCormick hits the first.
And that's impressive. David McCormick has been amped up in these last few minutes, running around, jumping, yelling. To collect yourself on the line like that and knock down a big one that puts you within 3 points here of tying this thing up is massive. And now be aggressive. Now you got the bonus in your favor. If you can get another foul.
And there is that foul. And that's it. For Cartier Jada out of the game.
And this is why this wrinkle is so important. You do not get rewarded for fouling. You do not get the ball back after 2 free throws or a 1-and-1 like we see in college. And that's an absolute double whammy for Purple Rain, with Jada knocking himself out of the game.
And now here we go. A 3 could win it for the Jayhawks. Oh, what a fun one in Kansas City tonight.
I think if you're Jayhawks hoops, when you look at the personnel on the floor, if I got David McCormick on the floor, I'm going for a 3. It's obviously not David McCormick taking the 3. That's because I got an offensive rebounder down there to get one up. Once we get one up, you can get that second chance opportunity, or at least give yourself a chance for it.
Paul Fritchner, Mike Latulip with you as these teams come right down to the wire.
It's Tyshawn Taylor with the clipboard right now. I should say the dry erase board.
Jayhawks. They've won 2 games each of the last 2 years, trying to make it 3 years straight. Purple Rain, they lost in the first round last year. Both teams looking to move on to the regional final. Who is it going to be? Heartfire waiting on the winner. Jayhawks just 2 of 15 from 3 tonight, but can they get the one that counts when it matters?
I got to think Zeke Mayo's coming off of some sort of screen here.
You're looking for him. Taylor to the bucket, and he lays it up and in. A tough 2, and we're tied at 57. And Purple Rain will take their final timeout. The next score wins.
I'm sure Tyshawn Taylor drew up a play. He might have just drawn, "Give me the ball" on the dry erase board. And I like it. The pin down on the opposite side for Zeke Mayo creates the attention, because if you're guarding David McCormick, you got to be there to show if David McCormick lays wood. And that just frees up that middle third of the floor for Tyshawn Taylor. And he gets downhill, and that is just not an easy finish. That thing crawled over the front of the rim.
The Kansas bench asking for the Jayhawk faithful.
This is the best, man. This is the best.
The entire auditorium to its feet. Next point wins.
I mean, with Jada out of the game, this is all roads lead to Sean Williams.
Into the front court. It's a screen from Trice, doesn't use it. Instead, it's Sutton for the win! No! And the Jayhawks have a chance to win it. What a scene in Kansas City. A timeout taken by the Jayhawks. They'll have 1 remaining.
I like it from Sharon Collins. The one thing about TBT, man, you do not want to go home with timeouts in your pocket. Every possession matters. I wonder if they hand the dry erase board back to Tyshawn Taylor. He's 1 for 1.
Electric finishes all over TBT in the last couple days. And what a way to end the night in Kansas City. Paul Fritchner, Mike Latulip with you. It'll be Jayhawks basketball out of the timeout. Next point wins.
And right now it looks like they're going with the same play. And that's why it was a short huddle. I think they're going with the same play on the opposite side of the floor, with Taylor on the zipper cut up to the ball and Mayo coming off the pin down on the other side.
Preston handing it off to Taylor. Here's Mayo. Zeke Mayo lost it on the floor. It's Stetton coming away with it. Up ahead for the win, a foul! And it'll be a free throw for the win for Purple Rain.
Guess who has the chance to end it?
Sean Williams out in transition, and Tyshawn Taylor is furious. Sean Williams has not shot a free throw tonight, but he can win it with one. And he missed it. Comes down to this one right here to send Purple Rain to the regional final. And he missed them both. But the rebound is off of the Jayhawks. It'll stay on this end as if we hadn't seen it all already. 2 free throws for the win. The steal. Vic the other way for the win. Yes! Jayhawks hoops. Move it on. Gerald Vick with the game winner for Jayhawks hoops. Sean Williams with 2 missed free throws. He only needed 1.
And just the resolve from this Jayhawks hoops group. You turn it over, which has been your Achilles heel all tournament. Leads to a run out. Williams misses the 2 free throws, and then you don't get the offensive You got to lock in for another possession. We saw it on Saturday with the Gerald Vick. Big moment on the defensive end. He shows up, and he sends Jayhawk to the next round.
An electric finish in Kansas City. What a night of basketball. It'll be the Jayhawks taking on Hardfire. Tip is set for 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 Central from Municipal Auditorium. That'll be on Wednesday night. Regional final between the top seed in the region, Hardfire, and a home team, the Jayhawks of Kansas. What a game. Catch your breath, everybody.
Do we really have to go home?
I know.
I want more. We'll
have more for you in less than 48 hours in a game that took just over 2 hours to play. In a thrilling 2-point win for the Jayhawks. Zeke Mayo led the way for the Jayhawks with 14 points. Tyshawn Taylor, David McCormick, and Marcus Bell all with 9. But Gerald Vick's only 2 points of the night were the most important ones. The game winner, Cam Martin, with 14 to lead Purple Rain. Cartier Jada with 11, Sean Williams with 11. Those are your double-figure scores on the Kansas State side. What more can you say about this one? Just an insane finish in Kansas City.
I really don't have many words, which is unlike me.
What a fun one, Mike. Just everything that went down in that game, it had its ups, it had its downs for both sides. The Jayhawks led by 3 at the end of the first quarter. Then Purple Rain had to lead by 5 going into halftime. The Jayhawks came out firing in the third. It was a tightly contested fourth quarter. And then there in the Elam Ending, the Jayhawks take it by 2. It'll be the Jayhawks and Heartfire set for a spectacular regional final on Wednesday. Mike, anything else before we sign off here?
I mean, what we just witnessed in that Elam Ending, I thought that game was over on 4 different occasions. And again, Jayhawks Hoop stays with it, and we're set up for what should be a really, really electric regional final in Kansas City between Jayhawks Hoops and Heartfire. That is pros galore all over the floor. I'm excited for it, man. That's going to be a blast.
Well, for John Cervisi, Drew Hurst, Jacob Matthews, and Travis Sutton on the production, and for Mike Latulip to my right, I'm Paul Fritchner signing off. Thank you so much for spending your Monday evening with us from Kansas City. Mike and I will have the regional final for you. Again, that's 7 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 Central from Kansas City on Wednesday night. Stick with us for that one, everybody. But the Jayhawks advance 59-57. And we'll see who takes home the regional title on Wednesday. Talk to you then, everybody. Enjoy your evening.